So I wanted to give you guys at least one horror manga review for the month of October, and of course, I was excited to jump back into the world of Junji Ito, minus episode 2 of that recent Uzumaki anime, but we won't talk about that. Instead, let's get more positive. Positive in an absolutely fucked up, bloated, gas-inducing body horror kind of way. Yeah, we're going to be talking about GYO. GYO begins with our main character Tadashi and his girlfriend Kaori on vacation near a beach. Tadashi dives into the ocean to explore until he's almost attacked by a shark, as well as something else that he can't identify. It's not just a quick coincidence, but a specific reference to Jaws that Junji Ito had mentioned was an inspiration for this story, but not just in the form of an attacking shark, but the idea of something spreading an essence of fear through a population. In fact, the story goes even further to the point where it's not necessarily a monster story, but you could almost classify it as a worldwide pandemic, the spreading of a disease, and how people respond to this in a variety of ways, from panic to fear, and then complete anger and confusion. But how do we go from fish to full-blown apocalyptic pandemic? Well, the best thing the manga is able to do is subtly escalate from one thing to another to the point where it feels very organic, and it's one of Junji Ito's most impressive skills as an author. Tadashi and Kaori begin smelling an obnoxious odor coming from their room. At first, Kaori just blames Tadashi for it, saying that he needs to brush his teeth every time before they kiss. Damn, that's cold. In fact, this couple argues a lot, and I'm not sure if there was meant to be a particular theme at play, because despite how much they are at each other's throats, and it's quite often, especially from Kaori's end, Tadashi ends up desperately trying to help Kaori at every turn until the bitter end. Maybe the relationship is meant to be as toxic as the smell itself, or it could just be a commentary on how people act rash and emotional under stress instead of working together. Even if they really love each other, they're blinded by their argumentation. Anyways, it all starts when they find the source of the smell, and it's a fish. A fish with legs.
You know I've been working with the government, right, Tom?
Tadashi does what anyone would do discovering this creature. He takes it out back, puts it in a bag, and beats the shit out of it. But it comes back, now flying inside of the bag, seeming to have a personal vendetta against the two of them. And that's not all. More and more of these fish begin to appear and come out of the sea, and yes, even a walking shark emerges from the ocean. It's Jaws on land, and it's just as, if not more fast than it would be swimming through the water. It's a terrifying sequence, and also extremely absurd to see a shark running up the stairs and crashing through a door. Eventually, they go to Tadashi's uncle, who is a scientist that discovers the next phase of what's happening, that all the legs are like a device that attaches to a living organism and begins to control them. The uncle has to chop off his own arm in order to stop it from infecting the rest of his body. The severed arm crawling around is a great horrific image, and what's being pumped through the arm, though its origins are never completely explained, is like this poison gas similar to an old experiment from wartime, where they would test biological weapon methods on animals and then send them into enemy locations, making people so nauseous that they couldn't focus or fight. It's biological warfare. So you have this interesting blend of the science experiment gone wrong genre, mixed with literal monsters in the form of walking sharks and other aquatic creatures, mixed with a pandemic paranoia with humanity, trying to process this whole event, and we need to sprinkle an element of body horror in it because why not? Kaori becomes horrendously infected by the gas and the fumes, bloating out of control. All the while, this is spreading through the entire city that's being overrun with attacking aquatic animals emerging from the ocean. And explaining anything from this point on is just going to spoil the entire story for you, but in the pursuit of trying to help Kaori, we begin to see the results of humans getting attacked and attached to these devices as well, and it is so perfectly disgusting for a horror manga. There's a strange chapter dealing with circus performers that was probably my least favorite part of the story, but thankfully it doesn't last too long. What's really interesting, but perhaps frustrating to some readers, is that it leaves a lot open to interpretation, meaning that you're not going to get a 100% laid out explanation of where these devices come from or exactly how they work or who is sending them out. You're more so in the perspective of the characters just trying to deal with the situation at hand. But you could have theories dealing with just the science aspect, or you could even throw maybe some supernatural element in there too if you wanted to. It's definitely not overtly supernatural like Tomie or something, but if you wanted to take it in that direction, there's definitely elements of that here. This one leaves you with a lot more questions than it does answers at the end of the day. But all I can say about the ending is that it does leave you wanting more, and it was a little too short for me as well. I was hoping that the final act would go a little bit further with the concept, but at the same time, it leaves you with a haunting and almost hopeless feeling that I think the story was going for from the get-go. At the end, there's 2 bonus short stories that are unrelated to the GYO story. The first one, I guess, is meant to be a dark comedy. A father gets stuck under a post beneath a house, and when asked about how the hell that even happened, he just says, "It's a long story, I can't explain." They also can't move the post, or else the house will collapse, and so he literally just dies there. That's it. I have no idea what the point of this one was. Maybe Junji Ito was smoking some pot. The next one is the Enigma of Amigara Fault. A mountain has suddenly created a bunch of holes in the side of it in the shape of people. And some people are being drawn towards the mountain to check it out, believing that the holes are in the shape of themselves, with some people going inside of them and then never returning. It's like that idea of cave divers going into ridiculously tight corridors that I don't understand why any human being would ever want to do, but even worse, since the holes are in the shape of your body, and you're incapable of moving even an inch outside of that shape. Connected to some ancient spiritual punishment where the corridor gets tighter and smaller and more twisted the further you go in, so it slightly warps and contorts your entire body into something that is unrecognizable. It's pretty insane, but also extremely short. Ultimately, GYO is an interesting and strange read that won't take up too much of your time and will give you a little bit of that Halloween horror flavor that's needed for the month of October. I'd say check it out. But really, what happened to Uzumaki episode 2? Dude.
This doesn't make any sense at all. I keep climbing but never reach the top.
This is one of the biggest fall-offs from episode 1 to episode 2 that I've ever seen in an anime. I thought episode 1 was actually incredibly well done, but I don't know what happened here, so I'm just crossing my fingers that episode 3 is better. Anyway, I have reviews for other Junji Ito manga on my manga review playlist if you want to check it out. I covered the big ones like Uzumaki, Tomie, and last October I reviewed his Frankenstein adaptation, as well as No Longer Human, which is an extremely dark and depressing manga, but very well written. Check those ones out if you'd like. I'd really appreciate the support. Other than that, guys, give this video a like and a comment to help it out in the algorithm. And if you want to support the channel on a deeper level, I have channel memberships and Patreon linked down below, as well as the various social media outlets where you can follow me. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you next time.